This is my gavel visual cue. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Today's theme is diversity. William Sloane Coffin Jr. said, diversity may be the hardest thing for a society to live with, and perhaps the most dangerous thing for a society to be without. Please welcome our club president, distinguished Toastmaster Lois Margolin.
Thank you, sir. That was just such a smooth introduction. I appreciate that. Patty, before I get started on my stuff, you have all your roles good? Everything's clear?
Yes.
Wonderful. Welcome to Online Presenters. Good morning, good day. Happy tomorrow. I'm not sure how you address Graham, but whatever it is, we're glad to see everybody here. It is still nice and warm in South Florida, though it is very rainy. We have about another month to get through before hurricane season is officially over. Praise be. We also have a new member, Anne Marie. Very excited. Thank you for joining. If I remember correctly, you are in Aventura, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, we are happy to have you. And our Vice President Membership, who is doing just an amazing job, is ready to install you. Elaine, would you take it away?
When new members join our club or Toastmasters, we have them say the pledge of what they're going to be fulfilling as they grow their public speaking and leadership skills here with us. So Anne-Marie, if you'll repeat after me, please. I, Anne-Marie Diaz.
I, Anne-Marie Diaz.
As a member of Toastmasters International and Online Presenters.
As a member of Toast International and Online Presenters.
Do promise to. And I'm going to read the list. Attend meetings regularly. Prepare all of my speeches and leadership assignments to the best of my ability, basing them on projects in the Toastmasters manuals and pathways. Prepare for and fulfill meeting assignments. Provide fellow members with helpful, constructive evaluations. Help the club members maintain the positive, friendly environment necessary for all members to learn and grow. To serve my club as an officer when called upon to do so. To treat my fellow club members and our guests with respect and courtesy. Bring guests to club meetings so that they can see the benefits Toastmaster membership offers. Adhere to the guidelines and rules for all Toastmasters educational and recognition programs. And maintain honest and highly ethical standards during the conduct of all Toastmasters activities. Anne-Marie Diaz, do you agree? If you do, please say, I will.
I will.
Let's give applause to our newest member and pledge that we will support her success here in Online Presenters. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Elaine. And Carol, what was our timing? I think she's saying 1:47.
1:47, you read lips very well.
I try.
Amazing.
Good job, Elaine. So it always can be in the front. Thank you. We have a lot to go on. We have a lot going on today. I am just going to pass it immediately to our fabulous Toastmaster of the day, Patty Adams. Patty, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Madam President, and to all of our fellow members and guests, and of course, our replay audience. Today is National Diversity Day. I know you didn't know that. Actually, it's the first Friday of every month. But I thought it would be really cool to have it on today since we're such a diverse and cultural group. So I'll give you a little bit of a background of National Diversity Day and what it stands for, and I'll give you little tidbits along the way. So National Diversity Day is a day to celebrate and embrace who we are, despite our differences, no matter our race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, nationality, or our disabilities. We dressed up today to celebrate that. And so as we go through the meeting, if you're on to speak, you may want to give just a tidbit of what you're wearing. I'm wearing a Louisiana Creole because my background is African-American and French Creole. So that's why you see the scarf and all the beads. You know, we like Mardi Gras and things of that nature. And so we are off to a fabulous meeting today. I will real quickly share a screen so you will see what our, hold on guys, I haven't done this before, I apologize. Embrace diversity, that's the logo. that we're going to be using. And as you can see, it has so many different dynamics, just like we have so many different dynamics as well. I'll explain to you a little bit about the logo as we go on. And then this is my family. This is a old picture, so it has my grandma and my mom and my mother. And one of the things that you see in there is that we all come in different shapes and sizes and complexions, but we're all one big happy family. And so we even have diversity within our own family. So I hope that you all enjoy this meeting as we continue today. I will now ask for our supporting roles to help us out to tell us a little bit about what their roles are going to be. We will start with our timer, Carol Perhiski. Will you tell everyone what you'll be doing today?
Thank you, Patty. Today I get to time people, and so I get to tell them whether we're doing well or we're going over time. So if you have a 5 to 7 minute speech and you hit the 5-minute mark, you will get a green. A 6-minute mark, you'll get a yellow. Let's go that way. And a 7-minute mark, you get a red. And that's to signify it's time to wrap up. You are done. Back to you, Patty. Oh, for table topics, I'm sorry, for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. So 1, 1.5, and 2. Back to you, Patty. Thank you.
Will you let the evaluators know what their time is as well, Carol?
Certainly. Thank you so much for asking. It's 2 minutes for green. And when you see the green, you've got 1 more minute to go. Yellow, you have a half a minute to go. And red, it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Patty. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Carol. I appreciate that. And now for our counter, John Callahan, will you explain your role?
I will be filling out this old school piece of paper, looking at ahs, ums, you knows, false starts, so, and, Xeroxes, and pauses, trying to clean up our voices. That's what I'll be doing.
That's awesome. And we will just keep rolling full speed ahead. Our grammarian is Toastmasters Saka Shore. Will you please let us know what your role is?
Hello everyone, as the grammarian for the day, I'll be checking the grammatical usages of everyone who speaks in the meeting. I'll be noting down the best usage as well as a few improvements that could happen for all your speeches. Apart from that, I have a word of the day. The word of the day is embrace, which means an act of accepting or supporting something willingly or enthusiastically. An act of accepting or supporting something willingly or enthusiastically. A usage would be, coming from a hot Indian city, I'm beginning to embrace the cold climate of New Hampshire. Yeah. Back to the TMOD. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have a watch monitor who is Jim Barber. Will you explain your role?
My pleasure, Madam Toastmaster. As the watcher this evening, I will be observing everyone's video presence, and I'll be indicating any suggestions I might have at the end of the meeting. You asked about our cultural background, and in my case, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather fought in the American Revolution, so I'm about as dyed-in-the-wool United States Yankee Doodle Dandyer as you can get. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for that. We have our silent, that you cannot see, invisible, John Quick, who is going to be our chat monitor. Will you tell him your role?
Hello, Madam Toastmaster. I appeared. As chat monitor, I'll be hanging out in the chat tonight, capturing those great quotes and resources, things that you share like that. I'll post a summary to the chat at the very end of the day. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. And then last but not least, we have our vote counter, Mike Walsh.
Madam Toastmaster, I will be counting votes, working primarily within the chat. So after the vote for the best speaker, the best evaluator, or best table topics, if you would forward those votes to me privately, and then I will go ahead and count the votes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're going to have our speakers next, but I'm going to give you a little bit more tidbit on our National Diversity Day. So it's a day to reflect on and learn about different cultures and ideologies, a day to vow acceptance and tolerance, a day to consciously address these areas at educational and religious institutions, as well as in the workplace and at home. Now for the exciting part of the meeting, we have some exciting speakers that's going to be coming up. In fact, we have 3 speakers and we have 3 evaluators. Our first speaker this evening will be Elaine Nieberdine. And she did turn in her introduction, so I will read it now. 2 months after Milestone Weekend high school reunion. It reviews time for the leader and the event creation team, Club Vice President Elaine Nieberdine, with this dynamic leadership level 4 project, explores managing the aftermath of reconnecting a community of long ago schoolmates. Give a warm welcome to Elaine Nieberdine with her speech titled In Celebration of Crickets. Take it away, Elaine. Unmute yourself, Elaine.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and replay viewers. So this is a celebration of crickets, an exploration of crickets. When you were a child, did you play with insects, crickets? Did you know that there was a difference between grasshoppers and crickets? Crickets actually have the long antenna. Grasshoppers don't. And crickets make that great sound by rubbing their wings together, not their legs, their wings. It's what makes that great sound. And maybe I'm wondering if, like me, when you were little, did you have a time when you were outside at night and heard that sound of crickets or frogs chirping, just kind of that quiet, peaceful evening sound that you relished in? Actually, that's a sound which I'm growing to have a new appreciation of. As a holistic nurse and I teach relaxation methods, it occurs to me, this is a wonderful sound to explore. But what else about crickets? Well, you got Jiminy. As a little kid, maybe you saw Pinocchio, and Pinocchio sang that song, When You Wish Upon a Star, helping us to, picture the achievement of some great vision. That's another way about crickets. And then there's this other thing called, social crickets. Have you ever had an experience in social media or in relationship with anything where you're working hard to get a response and then it's just not what you expect? Oh boy, crickets, they say. Well, I did embrace that dream to have a great 50th reunion event, and I pulled together a team who met for months and months and months, like 18 months, putting together a grand event that occurred in August of this year. And we had a grand event. It exceeded, our wildest expectations. We had 80 people attend. It was a 3-day event. We got to visit our high school. People who had not even known each other during high school were connecting and forming friendships and discovering each other. It was grand. And we even took a poll from the people there. Would they want to get together again? We were surprised to hear they would, actually, in 5 years. So we're going to be doing some different planning. But now we're in that very interesting period after this grand event that we had not long ago. We are preparing to discuss, well, what happens next? And so at the beginning of September, I sent out some notices, like when can we have the meetings? And it was like crickets. Crickets. Now, I got lots of great feedback from my leadership of the event, but I'm doing my Toastmasters projects and I'm learning about being an effective leader and managing change and transitions. Well, this is a natural transition coming up. But crickets. So what do I do? Well, I've decided, since apparently people aren't quite ready to have the review meeting and the what's next meeting and the lessons learned meeting, I can kind of hang out in this peaceful place and by myself create the really important lists of how to conduct this meeting. Now, it's really interesting. My son, who is an IT guy, some years ago, he told me about learning Agile and Scrum. These are mindset ways of working effectively on a project with a team. And Scrum is actually it's like the platform of activities for for having effective meetings and working through projects. And so just in the last week, as I was proceeding with figuring out how am I going to conduct these meetings well, I got some brand new tips of how to discuss with my team the aftercare that we're going to do, sending out our class directory. I know the important things to look at for the lessons learned meeting. I have an idea for how to actually collect my 360 evaluations of my own leadership, and also with my team plan what's ahead. When are we going to meet again? And what are the things that we want to do differently if we're actually going to go ahead and prepare a 5-year reunion? But I'm going to go back to really celebrating that crickets happened and that I've just been able to shift into this place of peace, meditate, relax, and have a good sense of guidance of how to proceed with change management. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so very much, Elaine, for that great speech. We will continue to move forward now as we listen to Roger Fung as he does his speech. His project name is The Power of Humor in an Impromptu Speech. The purpose of this project is for the member to develop their method for giving impromptu speeches and practice adapt and rehearse their stories during a presentation. Roger is to answer 2 impromptu questions and be evaluated on how he uses humor to connect his answers to the topics. I will say first off, it's pretty hard to do a 1 or 2 minute table topics. Let's see how well he does with these 2 topics that I give him. I will give him each topic one at a time. Roger, your first topic. There is a natural disaster. You and many others are safe in a shelter, but there is a lot of fear and uncertainty. As a community leader, you are asked to speak for a few minutes to reassure and calm the group. Roger.
Friends, we are going to be okay because we all have a drink in hand. This is the time when we can knock ourselves out and not have to worry what is happening outside of this shelter. Yes, we have no idea what's going on outside. And sometimes, and maybe some of you are afraid that we might get into harm's way. But this is the perfect way to forget about all your worries. So raise your glass with me and just drink up, whether it is an adult or a children's drink. When you can just chuck it and embrace that we cannot control everything, whether it is cricket or not, then we can say, you know what? Whatever comes tomorrow, we still have each other. And it is because that we have each other, we don't have to worry. Because whatever comes, whether high or low, whether it's high wind or tornadoes, we will stick together and we will deal with this as one body. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Roger. And Roger will continue, giving us humor within his speech. The worst news possible was just given to a gathering of friends and family. You are asked to speak to the group and to give them words of hope and support. Roger.
My fellow Americans, yes, we are looking at the second term of Mr. Roger Fung as your president. I know many of you would hope that that would not happen. And you have worked hard. You have campaigned. You went door to door. But nevertheless, somehow, some way, that guy snuck right in, and he is going to be doing his second term as the president of our country. But don't worry, because there is term limit. All we have to do is sweat out 4 more years. In 4 more years, we will not have to deal with that guy anymore. In 4 more years, we can celebrate. We can celebrate any other candidate, because anyone would be better than him. Now, if you have a problem of sweating out the next 4 years, I have one suggestion for you. Turn off your TV. Turn off your Skype. Turn off your WhatsApp. Turn off all your social media. Then that way you will never have to hear from that man again. But rest assured, there is a time limit. Only 4 more years. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Roger. Great speech. We will now move forward to our third speaker for the evening, which is Nick Lahani. The title of his speech is Three Musketeers. Today, Nick will relate the story about creating a small team to deliver club officer training for 2 adjoining areas of District 71 this summer. His aim for the training was simple: create energy within the audience to loosen them up, and then feed them quality, relevant, and substantive training to help them develop themselves and their club. With this simple yet powerful approach, the team went and delivered the best training this part of England has ever seen for a club officer training for many years. How did he and his team do this? Let's hear it in his words. With a speech titled again, The Three Musketeers, please give a rousing welcome to Nick Lahani.
Madam Toastmaster, create energy for the audience and then feed them quality training. That's what I did. Actually, that's what the team did. Well, that's the point, isn't it? We want to be leaders, but we can't claim all the credit because the team did a lot of the work. However, what you can claim credit for is your role in getting them to deliver what they delivered. But this is not about credit. It's about getting the job done. And here's my story. What I did was I created a friendly, fun team spirit. I planned thoroughly, more thoroughly than the other guys could handle. But because of my experience, I was able to take a lot of that pressure off them. I made sure that I delegated the task and found them jobs, or they found themselves jobs that they could handle within the short time frame that we had. Ultimately, everybody executed in a clinical manner. Let me elaborate. This is summer 2019. I was just about to become officially an area director. And I talked to a friend of mine who's an area director of the adjoining area. Why don't we get a joint club officer training? Now, over here in District 71, we don't have all these big shindigs that you all have. We often have 3 or 4 clubs getting together under one area director who then delivers the training. Not very inspiring. And I wanted to change that. And the biggest reason I wanted to change it was that my home club went to the training last year and said, Nick, we're never going again. One of them said, I would rather staple my eyelids together onto my face so that I don't have to look at another PowerPoint again. I would staple my ears over my ear holes so that I don't hear the same text again, that I could actually get online. And that's the point, isn't it? We have to make it engaging. It was supposed to be a joint venture. We said, yes, okay, no problem, we'll do it jointly. My friend Julian, the other area director, had a location and a date. But I raised the fact that, well, that's only 3 weeks away. Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. We need to do it then. Okay, I went along with it. We'll share the responsibility, not a problem. Then, once I confirmed, he said, oh, by the way, I'm on holiday for the next 2.5 weeks. Oh, and I'm not contactable much. Oh. Basically, he was going to turn up 48 hours before the training and then organize everything. I could see that this wasn't going to work. Now, I'm not by nature an autocratic leader, but in this case, I was. I took charge. There was 4 of us in the team, Julian, his assistant, Nathan, and my assistant, Paul. What I needed to do, though, was to actually get this fun spirit going. So we had a few calls, sort of like a meeting beforehand. And we kicked around a few ideas, and I wanted to lighten the mood. So somebody suggested, let's give ourselves a name. Fantastic. Well, we came up with, how about this, the 4 Musketeers. Have a look at this. Look, Hollywood at its finest with some real big stars over here, like Charlie Sheen. Yeah? We're not Hollywood. Okay, we're not. So I said, well, we get the job done. We're rugged and rough. And men want to be us, and women want to be with us. Here we are. We are the 4 Musketeers. We then developed on further, and it went downhill from there, and we became some sort of cabaret comedy act. And this is us at the Edinburgh Fringe. And just for Roger, this is the 4 Musketeers at Plano in Texas. Now, we needed to get a grip. I needed to understand what I could do to get, what I needed to do to get them to get their job done. And I needed to know their motivations. And here's 4 types of motivations that I can share with you. Recognition, achievement, status, and affiliation. For myself and Julian, it was achievement. We wanted to deliver very, very good officer training. Absolutely the best we could. For Nathan and Paul, they wanted affiliation. They wanted to be a part of it, but they didn't really want to push or hog or take the limelight. They didn't, but they wanted to help and get the job done. Fantastic. With this, what we did was we actually went and along the road and started planning. I built an action plan, set things in motion. I knew the date, I knew the location. I created a pre-meeting pack so attendees could know where to come. Nobody had thought of this before. I delegated, sanity checked, kept in constant communication with everybody, and made sure that everybody felt supported. Even though Julian was out in Croatia somewhere, I still made sure he knew what we were doing. Somehow he would get the messages through that everything's fine. And then when he did come back, the packs were done, the preparations were done, the speakers were prepped, the subjects were sorted, the food was ordered. Fantastic. Everybody got the job done. And in terms of prepping, I had to take on a lot of the actual content of it. And I even prepped up until the last minute, whereby the morning of the event, I actually attended another online meeting with Graham, and Graham was one of the people who actually gave me some kind feedback to help me deliver fantastic sessions. That extra work meant that the actual day was an absolute success. We created the energy at the very beginning. We created that energy. I got them to introduce themselves. I said, you should be louder, 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 and really got them out of their shell. We British are very, very reserved, as you know. And in order to get them out and shouting and screaming, it took a few minutes, but we got it done. We upped the tempo. We kept a high level start, and then the speakers, one by one, kept the tempo up and running, short, sharp. Nobody had more than 7 minutes. There wasn't 25 minutes, 45 minutes of PowerPoint. It was 7 minutes. If you can't say it in 7 minutes, I'm not interested. You don't know what you're talking about, basically. So we had a number of speakers, and in fact, virtually everybody was able to speak from the meeting, either as a speaker or during the sessions to give feedback on what they've learned during the different roles sessions as well. I made sure everybody had a chance to speak at the front. I also made sure that the one person who was not a club officer had a role. He was our timer. Fastidious, to the point. He even gave me a red light, for God's sake. I don't know. We got it done. We gave them a great lunch. We gave them great sessions. We engaged them, motivated them, and hopefully inspired them to go and achieve better in their clubs. But that was not all. One of the key things from this is that I said, let's keep in touch. And by the end of October, I'm going to make sure that we set up some online training sessions, that things that they need help for. And then I'm going to make sure that we run them, and then they take that over themselves, and the areas take it over as their responsibility together. Don't leave it for somebody else. Help yourself. That's the key. Create the energy, feed them quality, and then give them their heads. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Nick, for your speech. And now we'll ask our Madam Timer. Carol, did everybody meet their time?
No, ma'am. We are off. The only person who met their time is Elaine at 6:48 for a 5 to 7 minute speech. Roger came in light. His first one was 1 minute 20. His second one was 1:38. I did screw up a little bit with Roger, but he said it wasn't a problem, and I apologize to him. For Nick, he was a 5 to 7 minute speech. He came in at 9:32. So Nick, you didn't get the red light, you got a red strawberry.
And for point of order, does everyone vote, or is it just an automatic Elaine gets?
This one's an automatic one. So congratulations, Elaine. We loved your speech, and regardless of timing, I think all of the speakers did very well. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Madam Timer. We will now turn the meeting over to our table topics master, which is Miss Asil Barshanova. I'm sure she has some exciting table topics for each one of our group members, or maybe even a guest who could ask a question. I give it to you, Madam Table Topics Master Asil.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Patty. The world is big, very big. It is full of a plethora of different people, places, and things. We tend to think of the world in segments: countries, people, languages, cities. So topics today will be diverse. So my first question is, share how Online Presenters Club has helped you to embrace other people's culture. Share how Online Presenters Club has helped you to embrace other people's culture. This question will go to Andy.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. And it's an excellent question considering that this is the National Diversity Day that was pointed out by Patty. I think our club is really interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I've been very excited and engaged to be with this club the entire time. We have people from all over the globe, from Australia, New Zealand, England, Canada, all over the United States, the Philippines, and many other countries in the Caribbean as well. This gives you a real perspective of what Toastmasters is all about and shows that the standardized process that we all go through has been adopted by everyone, and you can feel comfortable in any setting, anywhere around the world when you walk into a Toastmasters meeting. I'm very pleased that I've gotten additional insights from the people down under, particularly when we had not yet been in Pathways, and learned from their experiences. I've been pleased to hear from other people from all over the globe about their experiences, and it's brought to me their stories that I might not have heard if I just stuck with my local club here in South Florida. So thank you very much, Club Online Presenters, for the diversity that you bring, the excitement, and the ability to learn from all of you. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Andy. So my next question will be, do you think when in Rome, do as the Romans do is always good advice? Why and why not? Do you think when in Rome, do as Romans do is always good advice? Why and why not? This question will go to John Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. When in Rome, do as Romans do. Is that good advice? In general, yes. And here's why I would say yes. Because if you don't do what the Romans do, then you're being a tourist, which means that you're spending way more money than you need to, that you are probably not experiencing the best of any given society. You're staying at the hotel and eating at the hotel restaurant, and you are doing the normal tourist bus rides around town, and that's not what the locals do. So if you're in Rome, what do you want to see in Rome? Yeah, of course, you want to go to the Colosseum and all that kind of good stuff. But isn't there more to Rome? I've never been to Rome myself, but I think that would be pretty fascinating. I just got back, well, not just got back, it was probably 6 months ago, from a trip to a colonial city in Mexico. And we did nothing that the tourists did. We ate at every place off the beaten path that we could find. We used Google Translate to try and get by with very limited Spanish. And as a result, we had a fantastic time. So I would say that if you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. You'll have a lot more fun. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, John. Great answer. So next question, as I said, our questions will be diverse. So I want to ask our guests why they want to join online presenters. So this question will go first to Tricia. Please welcome Tricia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, I'm Tricia. I'm from Northern Illinois. I've worked with online presentations as an educator for a number of years. I'm new to Zoom. I'm very interested in becoming a member of Online Presenters. I'm very impressed with the diversity of the people involved right now. And thank you, Patty Adams, for telling us that it's National Diversity Day. I work with a school in Florida, so I get to serve students all over the country and faculty, one being myself, all over the country. And diversity is the name of our game. So in terms of my education experience online, I like the social network. I work remotely, so I work a lot by myself. So all of my communications by phone, you know, with my meetings, things like that. Face to face, I have to get out of my house and go somewhere else to have social contact. So this is kind of like the next best thing. Professional development, I have to do that for work, so this is kind of nice. I like the focus of being able to improve my presentation skills. I'm good at making eye contact, but it's, yeah, I'm looking all around here on the screen and every time somebody presents, so I know all those basic skills. I'm up against some experts here, I can tell, people who've got some great presentation skills, so I've got a lot to learn. New friends, I definitely am looking forward to calling you new friends, family, whatever, new, you know, part of that online Toastmasters group. I've been looking for a Toastmasters group for quite some time. I'm new to Toastmasters. The school I work with, even though they're online, they have an on-site Toastmasters club, and I've been trying to prompt them to do an online, I'm sorry, on-site, right? I said on-site. On-site. I've been prompting them to do an online because it would cover the whole faculty. Nope, they don't have that yet. So I just came across this at a perfect timing, so thank you. I didn't know I was tied to a certain amount of time, so I'm sorry, I'll wrap it up. So the last thing is my technical skills need to be improved, so hopefully I'll be learning a lot from Zoom because I'm experienced with other platforms. So thank you, and I'll be honored to be welcomed.
Thank you, Tricia. Welcome to the club. And next, Psyche Shore. Psyche Shore, is that correct? Okay, great.
Perfect.
Please welcome Psyche Shore to the stage.
Yes, my dear fellow Toastmasters of online presenters, it's a privilege for me to come here for the second time, and probably this is the second amongst the many times that I'm attending the meeting. I'm pretty sure you all must have read a book, right? You all read books and you are inspired by a novel. And then when you realize that the book is being made into a movie, you are tempted, you're forced, you're induced to watch the movie. That is exactly the experience that I've had till now. I have been a part of conventional Toastmaster clubs in the legacy track for 4 years now. And I have been a dual member for all these 4 years. The 2 clubs in my college back in my undergraduation in India, South India. And I did start one club, the 3rd club, before I left India and came to United States. So that was my book reading experience. Now, when I was looking out for a Toastmasters club, I didn't find one in the near vicinity. There was no Toastmaster club in the nearest, like say 3 miles. The closest one was probably 4 miles away, and I could not afford to go there every Monday. So every day of the week. That is when the movie came out. The movie that I was looking out for was the Online Presenters Toastmasters Club, the virtual Toastmasters Club, which would help me stay in constant touch with Toastmasters and increase my abilities of public speaking and leadership. And guess what? I have done my communication and leadership track. I have completed my Advanced Communicator Gold. And in my leadership track, I have completed Advanced Leadership Bronze. ALS is left. And I've done the club mentorship and HPL, High Performance Leadership. And with all these, I realized that this is the best place with all the experts over here in a virtual environment where I can get as much of presentation experience as possible. Here in a virtual environment, I will also gain insights into how to give efficient presentations, being a part of engineering management program at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. I feel this is the best place for me. I feel you will embrace me with your open arms. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the club. Next question. Mexicans celebrate New Year's Eve by eating 12 grapes at the stroke of midnight. How do you celebrate New Year's Eve in your country? So, but I want to address this question to Nick because I know he lived in South Africa, if I'm not wrong. Nick, are you there?
Hi.
Hi. Can you tell us how they celebrate New Year?
In UK?
No, in South Africa. You lived there
In
for
Af-
a while.
Okay, well, in Africa, I was 6 years old when I came here, so I don't actually remember. I'm pretty sure that we went to bed one night and woke up the next, and it was hot and sunny every day. And one day was the same as the next. However, when I came to this country, what I found was growing up, New Year's Eve was very big. And it was big because, not because it was a big festival, not because it was so religious or important to the family or to the fabric of the nation. New Year's Eve was an excuse when you're young or old to go and get drunk very, very much and basically just do things you wouldn't do normally the other 364 nights of the year. However, I'm happy to say I'm over that particular phase, and New Year's Eve for me now is to spend time with my kids, do something interesting, celebrate, go out for a little while, but make sure they have as good a night as possible. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nick. So I think we have one more question and then that's it, right? Carol? Okay. So my last question. How does Jim Barber change your opinions of Americans? How does Jim Barber change your opinion of Americans? This question will go to Graham.
Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, you asked me how Jim changes my impression of Americans, and that's an interesting question because Jim wearing that hat makes me think of the all singing, all dancing, the type of American that you saw in the Music Man, who was all about flim flam and all about, but what I do know about Jim instead is that Jim has a wicked, an almost Australian sense of humour. You see, we love dad jokes here, but we're also quite sly about our humour. We think that humour should have teeth, that humour should just nibble away at the edge and then drag you into its maw so that you cannot help but think, ooh, there's a certain amount of there. Jim reminds me an awful lot of that. Anybody who doesn't, by the way, follow Jim on Facebook, do so. His daily jokes are a wonderful way to start the day each day. But one of the other things that Jim reminds me of about Americans, and this is something that I have observed traveling to the United States on more than one occasion, is that there is an enormous diversity to America. That there is a brashness, but also a friendliness, that there is a self-assuredness, but also a self-effacingness. And Jim largely represents all of those because he is friendly, he is warm, but he is most of all welcoming, which is written on the very base of America's most famous statue. Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Give me your Australians and welcome me to your country where we can eat too much food and learn even more bad dad jokes. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Grant. I really enjoyed our table topic session and thank you all for your diverse answers. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Table Topic Master Asil. Now for our members as well as our future members, I'm going to share this logo with you one more time, and I just want you to understand what the logo represents. So you see the embrace and you see diversity. The shapes and the color express diversity in its many forms. The square angled is both a diamond and a square, and with its ascent, it brings to mind a square peg into a round hole, which will be in our own diversity have felt at times. The gear wheel is not only a different shape, it also represents working in sync, the cog and the wheel moving forward together. The circles are embracing the other shapes, bringing us all together as a whole to make a better world. the whole is greater than the sum of many diverse parts. So just keep in mind the importance of embracing diversity. We will now move forward with our general evaluator, Graham Carnes. He will be orchestrating the meeting from this point forward. We have 3 speeches. That was Elaine Nieberdine, and evaluator Lois Mongolan will be evaluating her. Roger Fong, evaluated by Lewis Brown. And then we had Nick Lacani, who will be evaluated by Jacinta Lamote. Please welcome general evaluator Graham Carnes.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Patty. And just before I get to those things, can I ask the timekeeper, can you either put the times for the table topics into the chat, or at least let us know who is eligible for best topics speech of the day, so that our vote counter can actually get started. So, Carol, can I ask?
Yeah, of course. It is in chat just briefly to say that all are eligible. All did extremely well, between 1 to 2 minutes, but we have an extra 30 minutes leeway. So our newest guest is Trisha. She is within time. So everybody's good.
Excellent. Thank you, Carol.
We had Andy, John, Trisha, Sakashore, Nick, and Graham. Thank you.
If you can send your vote, please, through to our vote counter for today, and that's Mike. That would be terrific. All right, now time to move to the evaluation section. And we'll start with the evaluations of the speeches, because evaluation is the keystone to the Toastmasters experience. I'm pretty sure everybody here is aware of this, but I genuinely believe that evaluation is what makes Toastmasters different to almost any other public speaking training organisation. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the evaluations tonight, because I know that all 3 evaluators tonight are excellent evaluators. Not putting the pressure on you at all, am I? No, seriously, to do the first evaluation tonight and providing an evaluation of our first speaker, which was Elaine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lois Margolin. And times of 2 to 3 minutes, please, Madam Timekeeper.
Thank you, Graham, my fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and especially Elaine. Celebration of Crickets. What a cute title. At first I'm reading that and going, crickets? Crickets? What does she mean, crickets? What does that have to do with management? Elaine, I thought you had a lot of humor in there. And when you finally got why crickets, where you heard crickets, or the social aspect of crickets, I thought it was just too funny. So your humor came out throughout your entire speech. And unfortunately, we have all been there. We have all called those meetings, let's get everybody together. We've heard cricket. Nothing. There's nothing going on. This is level 4 of the, I believe it's the dynamic leadership, building your skills. And you did some things really, really well. Number 1, you had a lot of humor. Number 2, you tied something in that I would never have thought to do, and that made it just that much more interesting. Kudos. You had phenomenal vocal variety, and I love the way you so easily turn your screen back and forth. That is a technique that not many have mastered, and you're challenging me to master that. I'm going to try it one of my future speeches, but you did a really good job of changing it from crickets to the night and back to crickets, and thinking, wow, how is she keeping track of all that? And that's in lieu of a PowerPoint or anything else, so kudos to you. I really enjoyed that. I also thought you had good vocal variety. I would have liked a little more pause when you would say something like, and all I heard was crickets. A little more vocal variety to give it more of a punchline. I liked when you were talking about the antennas of the crickets and how they go off like that. So you did so many things really well. And I remember when you first started with Toastmasters, and this speech to me is a true turning point of your speaking abilities. So kudos to you. What could you have done that would have made this speech just a little stronger? We never really got into the leadership aspect of it. We talked about crickets, we talked about a little bit about Scrum, we talked about Agile, but you never got into what did you personally gain from this experience, because you were the leader. And even if no one said anything, what did you learn about yourself and your management style? Did you even like how you managed? Would you have done things differently? Did you tell people in advance that you were going to have an aftercare, which I've never heard it called aftercare, so I thought that was interesting, but a lessons learned so that they knew to expect it instead of everybody scrambling for the four corners and out they ran. So I think this particular speech required you to talk about your lessons and how you kind of took over and what you gathered from it. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that, but overall it was a fun speech. I learned a lot about you and your styles. And I look forward to number 5, level 5, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you for that masterful evaluation. Our second evaluation of our second speaker, comes tonight from another, this time Lewis rather than Lois, or I don't know, Lou's easier than Low. And I'm never sure whether it's meet me in St. Louis or St. Lois or St. Lou. But anyway, whoever he is, Mr. Brown, Toastmaster Brown, would you please provide your evaluation?
Certainly, Mr. GE, and you can call me Lou. You can call me Lou Brown. You can call me Mr. Lou Brown. You probably heard that joke before. Anyway, Mr. GE and fellow Toastmasters, especially Roger, all of you, I think, know me well enough to know that I love to talk, whether I'm in an online presenters club or anywhere. But I have to say, I'm a little bit at a loss for words. Roger, I had to do some research on your speech as I was almost preparing your presentation, because as you know, I kind of signed up last minute. I found this to be very challenging, and I'm sure it was very challenging for you. So I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to effectively evaluate a challenging topic with, a challenging speech with challenging topics? It's very difficult for me, I'm sorry. So I decided to just kind of take a step back, take a breath, and just look at this from a much more, I guess, overall perspective. Let me start there. The purpose of this thing, as folks may not know, is you're given 2 topics, and then you are to provide an impromptu speech using humor in your stories. 2 key words there, humor and stories, and that's what I went by as I was evaluating your speech during this meeting. First of all, I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 word topics, and they were kind of like this sentence or 2 or more, and it kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't able to always follow. The first one I know was about a natural disaster. The second one was something where you then ran with it about being president for 2 terms. I didn't get the whole message. However, that really doesn't matter, because let me just talk about some things that I really liked about your presentations in general. Great eye contact. You're always looking at the camera. Always have our attention. We are always engaged whenever you speak. For a large reason, because you also have a very beautiful smile. I love when you smile and show your teeth, because you know what? Even if you may happen to go off topic or anything like that, who cares? You have a wonderful smile. I know it caught my attention. I'm sure it caught everyone else's attention as well. Again, kept us engaged. Vocal variety, also very good. You have the pauses, you have a little bit of emotional and say drama that you add to your speeches, which I really like, because that is also very engaging. And some of the other aspects that, as a seasoned speaker, probably goes without saying, your comfort level, your gestures, you had a little bit of body language there. I loved how you used the prop with the give a toast. A couple things that, this is why it was a little challenging for me to give you, say, an effective evaluation. So I apologize for that again, because I'm thinking of humor and stories. In terms of the structure of your individual speeches, I didn't completely get, like, say, a story from them. It seemed like it had some flow and a little bit of structure, but it certainly was closer to, say, a table topic in terms of trying to think real quickly versus any kind of established story. With that said, I thought perhaps maybe you could gather your thoughts a little bit before you run with it. Just think in advance, oh, I have a topic, let me think about what I might say. Take a breath. I think the timing wouldn't start until then anyway, so why not take that time to think about it? The other thing is, maybe you could have had some stories in advance that you then could have somehow loosely tied to the topic if possible, or you know what, do what the rest of us do, bridge. So if the topic is about nuclear war, you can easily bridge that to a beautiful garden of flowers, because I know you and you're very good at things like that. Overall, though, excellent speech, excellent presentation, delivery style, and all that stuff, because you are an excellent speaker. Maybe just work on a couple of those things that I mentioned. Thank you very much, Roger, for an excellent speech. And Mr. General Evaluator, back to you.
Thank you, Lou, for that. Mr. Lou Brown. Yes. Shouldn't there be a derby with a Lou Brown? No, never mind. Our third evaluator, as in formal speech evaluator tonight, evaluating Nick's speech, is Jacinta. And I think this is actually going to be the first time that I've seen Jacinta deliver an evaluation. So I'm really looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jacinta.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and of course, Nick, for delivering such an amazing presentation that we all can embrace to help us become better speakers. The purpose of the project was to motivate team members through a project and share some aspect of his experience in motivating the team members. Did you feel motivated by listening to his talk? Nick, I will tell you that your talk spoke to me, because you would be so surprised how many individuals do not plan in advance. And you took this speech to a different level, because this is something that all of us can learn from in our everyday lives. I'm going to provide you with 3 ways Nick is going to help you to become a better speaker today, give you 1 area that can be improved upon, and 3 areas to be challenged. Nick's animations with his face were priceless today. When he spoke about Julian, notice how he said, oh. All those type of animations are very, very impactful for your audience, and it keeps them engaged. I will tell you, the funniest joke I've ever heard on online presenters is what you said today. Stapling your eyelids. I had to contain myself to not look silly, laughing so hard. So using humor can always engage your audience. So keep that in mind as you're presenting. The second area Nick is going to help you become a better speaker is by using sound bites. Heard this from Jim Barber. Thank you, Jim. Sound bites. He said, if you can't say it in 7 minutes, I'm not interested. That is an impactful, punchy statement that you should consider to try to include in your speeches, not necessarily the exact words, but those memorable statements that can enhance your speech. He also mentioned that men want to be us and women want to be with us. What can you say about that? Nothing. Impactful word that he said, statement. So keep that in mind. The images of the Musketeers were great. I see they're on there still, so keep up the good work with that. There's a way that I'd like for you to improve on your hand gestures. I noticed you did a lot of talking with your hands. Sometimes they were purposeful when you talked about bringing up the tempo. And then there was a couple of times where you talked about being autocratic, but you use your hands. So focusing on those purposeful gestures so that we can make sure that they are adding to the message, not necessarily distracting from the message. I would also recommend, when you mentioned the 4 types of motivation, possibly expound on that a bit more and maybe use 1, 2, 3, and 4 and count those off. That would help the audience as well in terms of a visual to see exactly what it is that you're trying to tell them and explain a bit more. There's 3 areas I'd recommend to challenge yourself. The background on the right-hand side, it looks a little blurry, so keep that in mind. I know you're working through it to make it to where it seems a bit better. Reading notes, there's one time I noticed that you're reading notes a bit, and then time. I know your speech was amazing, so just time, keeping that in mind. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't say it in 7 seconds, he's not interested. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Evaluator Jacinta. As I say, first time I've seen you do an evaluation, and I am glad that I was here to see that. All right, time now for me to call upon our ancillary speakers. So, for example, can I get a timers report from you, Carol?
Yes. For our evaluators, Lois came in at 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Lou came in at 3 minutes, 29 seconds. Talk about tight. All of you were tight. And Jacinta came in at 3:24. So they're right to the edge. Absolutely phenomenal. All are within time. Back to you. Thank you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Timekeeper. I'll now call upon our R counter. John, can you give us a brief report on how we done with our R's and ums and stuffs?
Well, I can do that. I've got my big old page filled out here. However, Tricia, you've got a definite problem to work on. I had a column on for our local club, and that is called the like column, because people of the younger generation have a like problem. I only heard one like tonight, so I guess that maybe says we're a bunch of old people, but there was very little likes. However, I also added another column on here for electronic problems, because it's not what you say, it's what the other person hears. We had 3 members tonight who had significant electronic problems, where when we heard it on this side of the equation, or this side of the table, there were significant problems. Nick had significant problems, Jacinta had problems, and Lois had problems, where when I was hearing you, there was a lot of noise in the transmission, which sounded like false starts, but it wasn't false starts because I was watching your lips. It was an electronic problem. So just something to be aware of, that it's not what you say, it's what's received. Back to you, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Not what you say, what you see. That's good advice there. Thank you, Mr. R counter. Let's move to our grammarian tonight, and Sakashore, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Today was a great meeting with a few great usages of grammar. First, going on with the good things, a few good usages where the TMOD Toastmaster of the day, Patty Adams, using we all come in different sizes, shapes, and dimensions, while she was mentioning about her family. So that was a creative one. And yes, in Nick's speech, he did mention, I would staple my eyelids to my face. I would staple my ears to my ear holes. So those were creative lines. And Table Topics Master Asail had a great alliteration and a good usage of words when she said plethora of places and people. And Graham, you had a great set of imageries, metaphors, and comparisons and contrasts in your 2-minute table topic speech. That was really good. Coming to a few general improvements, I think a few of us started the sentence with and, which is a conjunction, and that could be avoided if we properly take a proper pause and then start again. While we are saying words faster, we just miss a few us and thus. For example, let us call on the TMOD. Let us call on the Table Topics Master. We tend to miss the over there. And he gave a fantastic speech. And then we tend to miss the A over there. So we just tend to miss articles. And when we are thinking, when we are repeating, we are repeating sentences, and there a few grammatical mistakes tend to happen for some of us. Coming to the good part of a grammarian's calculation, the word of the day was used by Paddy Adams, our TMOD, a couple of times. Elaine used it once, Asail used it once, and I think I used it a couple of times. And this is the 3rd time I'm going to use the word embrace. Over to the General Evaluator.
And I embrace you for doing so. Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. We're running a bit out of time, so we'll have to ask our next few people to be as quick as they can. Watcher Jim.
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator. We've talked several times this evening about diversity at online presenters, and I want to mention one of our strengths is in our diversity of video presence. Let me give you an idea of what I mean. Everybody look at Jacinta and make her feel awkward. More specifically, look at her background. That is a terrific background. But now imagine everybody having that background. That would look spooky. So the great thing about what we're doing is the diversity of everybody's background, everybody's video presence. I like that. So everybody did great. Couple of quick comments. Tricia, I know you're a guest, but to mention your backlit, which darkens your face a little bit. Try to bring some light around the front of your face. Let's see, there was a second one. Oh, Anne-Marie, sort of the same thing. You're well lit, but it's on one side of your face. Try to introduce a second lighting on the other side that it'll soften it up a little bit. And Sakashore, you're fine in terms of your lighting, but when you're not speaking, you're a little bit lower on the screen. When you speak, as you did in Table Topics, you sit up straight or something like that. Try to keep your head, the top of your head, close to the top of the video frame. But everybody did great tonight, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Watcher. Chat monitor, how did we go? Anything significant we should know about, John?
I'm going to post some good quotes and reminders and resources in the chat, so look for that, everyone.
All right, and don't forget, by the way, everybody, you can save the chat by going to the chat and clicking on the little 3 dots that say ... and one of the options is chat. Vote counter, Mike, I think you put the results up into the chat, but if you can just let us know off the top of your piece of paper how we went today.
Sure. Our speakers went overtime, so we didn't vote for them. Our best table topics was Graham, and the best evaluator was Jacinta.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm going to give a very brief, is there anybody I've missed, by the way? I don't think so. I'm going to give a very brief overview of the meeting. I really enjoyed today's meeting. I thought it was great. I thought the fact that we're now running about 5 minutes behind is something that I would observe for our Toastmaster of the Day. When you are Toastmaster of the Day, to come up with those really great little vignettes and points that were made by Patty, help the meeting, but when we are tight for time, bear those in mind. I'm going to, for example, send my evaluation notes to each of the evaluators individually, but I would make one observation in terms of the evaluation. Everybody came up with really good specific advice, which is a good thing to do, but not everybody spoke about the techniques that we need to use in this club, because we are here to learn to improve our online presentation. So please, everybody, when you are evaluating, consider that. As I say, I really enjoyed the meeting. I thought the table topics were fun. I thought it was a good, fun meeting. Well done to our topics, to our Toastmaster of the Day. And I will now hand control back to our presiding officer, who's taking it back from this point on? Yes, that's Lois. Okay, Lois, it's all yours.
Thank you, Graham. As Graham said, we have 3 minutes. We are going to go through this really quickly. Jacinta, 30 seconds, I think he said. Jacinta? We can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I have about 20 seconds now. I'd like to congratulate John Quick for completing level 4 of his visionary communication. This is your virtual certificate, John. Congratulations. We are so very proud of you. And I'm going to be working on the October newsletter this weekend. So please let me know if you've submitted a level completion by this Friday so I can include that information in the newsletter so we can learn more about you. Back to you, Madam President.
You just love her. Oh my gosh, what a great job she's doing. John, would you like to tell us anything about Vice President or Education?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Next week, Nick Lahani is our Toastmaster. We've got some speakers and some evaluators and other roles filled, but everybody take a look and sign up. Some other reminders we have. October 21st is the Humorous Speech Contest. We're fully loaded with speakers, so that's going to be great. I think we'll check with Roger on the status of judging, but if you want to volunteer for any other kinds of roles, let's get in touch on how to coordinate that. Lastly, another reminder, November 4th, we have a guest speaker for our meeting, Jesse Cinto. Madam Toastmaster, Madam President, Madam Presiding Officer.